Hey guys, Moss here. Hope you are doing well. We're thanks for joining us. If you did join us on Facebook and YouTube, what we're trying to do is just get you more live, say, coverage on what's going on. So, and that's why we're testing our system. So, for those of you can't really see the chats yet, we'll figure that out. So, for those of you who are here, thanks a lot. I think there's more and more people joining. Let's see if I can just actually get some. What happened here? See if I can just get some chats here going. Yeah. So again, thanks for joining in. A lot of things happening. Nope, nothing live really. All right. So we'll figure the chat out later. Again, you can only figure these things out when they're live. So we can do just like a really quick medi, just a couple minutes medi. There's a lot of shit happening in Afghanistan. Unfortunately, the as predicted, quite a while back. We I predicted a lot of this stuff coming up to the surface. A lot of old patterns happening for us or reoccurring. Unfortunately, this is a bigger one that I see, and we need to say stop it before it continues on or gets it processes. If you look at history, if you look at if you look at wars, the biggest factor of human civilization doing the same thing, or countries doing the same thing, or companies doing the same thing, or even in your family doing the same thing, or you in your personal life doing the same thing. If you see it, it's the same pattern. It's just again different levels of say consciousness. So, and those are the mastermind groups that I talk about. Single individual can do one thing, and then when two people get together, or 10 people, or 7.8 billion people, however many there is now on the planet, it becomes say one person, and that one person makes a decision and then goes for it. Unfortunately, and this is where the great divide is happening. That bigger consciousness or that bigger mastermind, what's happening is there's a big split between the 7.8 billion people. And it's not about culture, or race or religion, or socioeconomic classes or anything like that. It literally is about, are you freaking awakened or are you not awakened? And that's going to be the big divider. And again, it separates the mastermind for us. So at first, the mastermind is a bit weaker, especially the new mastermind. It's a bit weaker. There's less people, but then it grows really fast. It grows exponentially fast. Hence, exponential intelligence. By the way, you should take a look at the podcast XI Exponential Intelligence, the podcast. A lot of good information, a lot of good science behind what I do. It's kind of like bringing science and um, the science of say spirituality, or understanding higher levels of why shit happens in this reality, uh, and also have a TV show on the Best You channel, so you can take a look at that, thebestyou.com. Anyway, coming back to our subject, which is really sad and close to my heart because I'm from that region, Afghanistan. Why is that happening again? Right? It's really sad why that's happening. And it's not because of any say specific reason, human reason, like a good reason. It never was. War never was, by the way, or any other issue or other violence. And I talked about this violence, or when is it right to use violence and aggression, and things of that nature. Violence, aggression, terrorism, although terrorism never works out in any form, by the way, especially if you're moving a cause forward. Right? So, and then not to get too political, I guess, but it's kind of going down that way, which is really sad. You've got you've got terrorism, you've got terrorists who where the the thing around their heads, and certain garb, and then you've got terrorism, with who are in suits and hide behind glass buildings. So what is what? Which one's better? Well, they're both terrorism, by the way. Unfortunately, I don't know where I'm going with this. It's just a free talk. It just came out. Uh, so, I guess the key is is that again the awakened, and not the people who say call the woke. Okay, because when those things happen, when there's an awakening happening, in this case a real live awakening, again a separation, people off on the fringes, they pick up on that shit and then go, oh, let's start this new thing called being woke. And then they're woke and they're not so woke. You have to be, it doesn't count. Okay. It's not what you are. It's not what you believe in. It's not who you are, or how much money you make, or who you know, or how many times you prayed, or how many times you've gone to church, and all that bullshit. That shit doesn't count. Okay. Again, it's none of your dressings at the physical level here. It's the consciousness level that you're in that matters. So a lot of people, again, in the near future, like we're seeing it more and more, are again being, say, separated. Families are being separated. Um, you know, uh, Families being separated, spouses being separated, even siblings being separated, because people go, "What's the vaccine? It's because of this." No, it's really not. People, although those are the physical aspects, or those are the physical symptoms that we're seeing, or we're seeing more of a divide, between, say, in this case, going to be religion, or um, uh, although it is, say, religion, it seems that, um, and it seems that there's a deeper agenda, by the way, on what that is. So let's take a deep breath in, and then we'll do mini meditations here. And what we're going to do, I think, we're not sure yet, but and the team probably doesn't even know about it, and I'm sure they're going to love me for this. But we're going to do a free meditation on 9/11, to bring people together. 9/11 was used to bring, two sides of the world, or separate the two sides of the world, right? But in this case, 9/11 is going to be, because, well, 9/11, the reason why I say bring two sides, because, well, one sector of the world, or culture, was blamed for, the bombings of the building. Obviously, that may or may not be true. There's a lot of evidence against that. Anyway, not to get too political, but it was a divide. It was a great divide. So those things, so the divisions, like, black against whatever other color, men against women, any of those divides of the past, which is a good thing, okay, is going to be, say, resurrected and connected. So those things start to disappear, and then the real great divide starts to happen. If you've ever wondered why there always has been a divide, again, women against men, different cultures, different age groups, different whatever, it's because of this underlying divide that's always been there. Again, are you at a certain level of consciousness, or are you not? Right? So again, what's happening, at the XI world, or at the top level world, um, um, that's my alarm going off, by the way, on the 18-day meditations that we're doing, called hyper meditations. How many, I can't see it, but I'll check the chats later. Again, comment in on how fast your life is changing on those 18 days. Pretty amazing. So, but back to what I was talking about. That great divide, by the way, is being awakened or not. And if you're awakened and you're against, say, colored people, okay, you're prejudiced against colored people, you'll see that you'll be together. You'll like, each other, okay, or women's movements, or whatever it might be. Again, that separation. The bigger divide would be: are you at a certain level of consciousness, or you're not? Okay, everything's going to go back, and everything's going to literally start to reset to nature standards of what it means to be divided. Okay, nature standards of morality, which is human morality, which is morality basically for everybody for the same way. Just like gravity works on everybody, depending, it doesn't depend on your weight, your age, your class, your color. It just fucking works on humans and everything else, again, right? Equally. Well, morality is going that way. So it's a lot of positives, by the way, a ton of positives. People go, I'm not here to, go, it's the end of the world, run, or the sky is falling. But the old rendition of how we've created the sky and the human, say, psyche, or the human mastermind, okay, that is definitely falling for sure, and it's a good thing because everything starts to become awakened at some level. The difference is, awakened or not, well, what happens, right? Well, the awakened people ascend to a higher level, and then they move on in this life. For those people who are, and there's two ways of awakening. Um, okay, unfortunately, we chose the old way of controlling people, and this is where the issue comes, right? Because in this consciousness, it dictates that we either control, we sacrifice, or we're in lack, right? uh, and that's the way this consciousness works. It's the last, say, dying breath, so we're going to hold on to that. So we're going to control, and then we're going to sacrifice and lack at very high extremes, and hence the issue with Afghanistan. uh, and it's just the beginning. It's been a tumor in the human psyche in the past. So in this scenario, what happens is the non-awakened, well, they die off. Again, masses will die off, whether it's disease. And again, COVID is, if it wasn't COVID, it'd be something else. Again, you'd have to say die off in this scenario. The consciousness demands it. Okay, it's not. Is it man-made? Sure or no? It doesn't matter. Again, if it wasn't this, it'd be something else. The masses, in this case, because of those three ingredients, would have to say die off. But that's not my point. Okay, that's a total different subject that I don't have time to talk about. What'll happen is that, again, if you are not awake, okay, and we chose this platform to say die off or ascend. If you're not awake, you die off. You awaken on the other side, right? And then you go, wow, I want to enjoy life. So again, you die off, you awaken. So normally when people die off, they don't awaken. They just continue, their trajectory of life, without a body. So what that means is, like, if you're sitting and this is a real story, by the way. If you're sitting at home and your favorite thing is to read the newspaper, for example, and you're not awakened, again, no matter how much religion and all that stuff, yeah, a ton of people aren't awakened. um, so what they do, again, they just continue on what they're doing, their favorite thing. Like this one example, amongst millions or billions who die, is that a guy, he had died, and I'm going, "Did your husband read the newspaper? Was that his favorite thing?" He goes, "Yes." He used to sit in this chair, and sometimes I actually hear him, hear the rustling of paper. It's like, well, he's still there, and he's still in that chair, and he's still reading his newspaper. Again, that might sound really far fetched, but the worlds that just merge together. Again, if you don't know how death works, right? Just don't go, well, I don't believe that shit, because whether you believe it or not, it doesn't matter. A lot of people back in the day didn't believe in flight and all that stuff, and now it's a normal occurrence, right? So again, don't be that closed-minded, and look at the science. In fact, I did do a podcast on the science of death for you to help understand if you're not a non-believer or you're new to XI. There's a lot of things in the world that we don't understand, that the logic and the science of this reality cannot figure out. Right? This helps you figure that out in a more logical way. So your fucked up world here actually does make sense. But back to my point, in another scenario that we could have picked if we were in another consciousness, okay? So I gave you that one scenario. Again, people who cross over, they'll awaken on the backside. The other scenario we could have picked is like there could have been a wave of joy where everybody gets say connected, right? Everybody understands. Everybody gets awoken here, and they don't have to die off, or they do die. They still die off, okay? Because again, this consciousness dictates that we can't. And the reason why people die off is not because, well, you fucked up, and you fucked up, you didn't. No, it's just because, um, you know, as the next level of consciousness say awakens, we can't hold on to our burdens, we can't hold on to our abuse, we can't hold on to any of those things. That's why people have to, or pain, or aging, or any of those things. That's why people will have to die off, not because they did something wrong. Okay. So, what happens in that joy experience, if this consciousness was, say, filled with joy, we'd have a joyous event happen, which would actually say make the process faster, right? Because joy, happiness, brilliance, the good, right? It doesn't need anybody else to control, destroy, victimize, or sacrifice or anything. So, and that's more of a Lego, not a Lego, a domino effect, right? The dark side or the controlling feature, and that's why it takes a little longer in this reality. Some of you who are new, what is he talking about? Just listen to this a couple times and you go, okay, I get it. For those who are XIers, you're going, oh, I see that. Okay, so in that again, so darkness or heaviness or sacrifice and all that it's like a domino effect. Think of it this way: when a joy effect comes in, right, a consciousness that, hey guys, we're awakening, we're going to the next level, because that's what it's about. You can either choose to go the dark way, your standard way, again, and use sacrifice, control, and lack, and then we'll go to the next level. It just takes a little longer, and it's a little more painful. The other way is like a joy experience, right? You have a joy experience, you go on to that next level. um, and then people who are aging, people who are depressed, people who are all those things, and it's they've, let's just say, they've fucked up their life a little too much, just because again, they've aged way past, it's easier to cross over, but they're happy because they start to understand, and this is an awakened death, and this is how everybody, or well, all humans should cross over. But the animals do this all the time, so it's nothing new. So in this scenario, what happens is that we all awaken. We start to realize, like, shit, I've got too many burdens. It's easier for me because now I know that I'm, an awakened being. It's easier for me, and I understand how, say, death works and how life works. Because if we understand death, we understand life. And just got a few minutes before I start the 18 day hyper meditations, um, people go, well, shit, it's easier for me to cross over and then start life again. So either way, you awaken, which is the good thing. Okay, so that's what's happening in the world. It's actually a beautiful visioning, but unfortunately, it doesn't have to happen in the way it is. Right, and it brings me back to 9/11 and bringing, say, the worlds together who need to be together. Right, so either way, whichever way, you start to awaken in a positive and a joyous way. Part of that aspect is like, remember in the beginning, and this is where I wrap it all up, perfect time, is that um, when I was talking about Afghanistan. So in that scenario, to control again, we'll use old patterns, okay, or old solutions, and we'll bring back a Holocaust scenario, just in a different country. Simple as that. So you'll see, between and the war, it's going to be between the Shias and the Sunnis, the two different sects of Muslims, unfortunately, and it's really the same people, but you create a buzz around it. You blame somebody around it, whether it's their own Muslim culture, or people who feed that fire of the Muslim culture, which is more important. Uh, I believe suits that are thousands and thousands of miles away, unfortunately. But we're not going to get into the political agendas all right. We just want to turn that situation around from the very different scenario, not pointing fingers. So you'll see again those two factions just kill off people. So you'll have mass graves, all those things happening, and that's why there's a lot of fear in Afghanistan, because if you're a certain sect, you just get your head cut off. Right? Just much like, so there's no gas chambers or anything like that. It's just literally, it starts to see mass graves, which is a burden to humanity. No matter which side you're on, off that fight, getting rid of people like that, or ethnic cleansing, any of those situations, guys. Ethnic cleansing is just a political term for getting rid of certain cultures. Simple as that. They used to do to the blacks and other, the Chinese, Japanese. They did it against each other. Now, it's a certain color or certain religions. So, again, it's the same old fucking pattern. Guys, whenever you do wrongful death like that, it's a burden to you and your family, especially those people leading it. And the leaders need to understand that they don't run home free, by the way. All right. So because of that, we're going to do a special 9/11, meditation for the world. So tell as many people as you can. We'll get some information out for you. And I know, like I said, my team's going to love it, but we'll get that info out for you, and we'll do a universal meditation, a mass meditation, or maybe a mass meditation. And then, we'll unite the world in a very powerful way, much higher level than, political leaders or anybody, because, well, they failed the world. So, all right, guys, that's my say. Thanks for staying here. I know I didn't know it was going to go this long, but again, very heartfelt. So again, notice what you notice. I'll join you on the hyper day, hyper meditations, which I should be on now. This is why I'm always late, by the way. All right, guys, take care. Peace.